Hey guys, come test out some new markers with me. This pack of markers came with 24 different colors. Each color had a brush tip and a fine tip. I tested out the brush tip and the fine tip for the first marker, and unfortunately the first marker I chose was very dried out and peeling so very horribly right off the bat. I even tested out the fine tip for that marker, and it was also not very great. I had to go over the lines multiple times for them to just show up. But thankfully, I moved on to the next color, which was blue, and it showed up a lot better than the pink did. I don't usually use markers in my art. I usually use colored pencils and crayons if I'm drawing traditionally, but I got these for a gift for Christmas, so I wanted to at least try to use them, and because I didn't want them to go to waste. So that's what this video is for. I thought if I was going to draw with markers, I might as well record it and have some content for my YouTube channel. I also have no idea what kind of markers these are. The package didn't say anything about if they were water-based or alcohol-based or paint-based or what. But anyways, enough about what kind of markers they are and what they do. I, of course, needed to draw a picture before I could color it with the markers, and I decided since I got the markers for Christmas and I was drawing this the day after Christmas, I might as well make it a Christmassy drawing. So, as you can see, I'm drawing a girl in a Christmas dress with some stars. I thought that the line art was going pretty well, but once I started drawing and coloring it in with the actual markers, that's where things started to go a little bit downhill. I kept forgetting what I was doing because, one, I'm not used to recording myself while I'm drawing. This was actually recorded. I was holding my phone for the entire thing in one hand and trying to draw one-handed with the other. And it was very difficult pointing the camera and making sure that it was capturing everything. And on top of that, I had to think about where my lines were going and what I wanted the drawing to actually look like when I was finished. And because of that, I completely forgot a lot of things that I meant to include. Like, for one, I was going to leave her arms bare, like a sleeveless type of dress, and I completely forgot that I was going to do that and ended up just coloring straight onto the arms, and it was too late to take that back and undo that because it's markers, so I had to just go with it. However, it was a bit funny when it happened because I hadn't even started coloring in the dress yet, and that was the first part I put a mark on, the very first part of the dress that I colored in straight onto her arm that was supposed to be bare. I was a little bit frustrated about that, but I figured it was fine because since this is a Christmas dress, she would be wearing it in the winters, so it made more sense for it to have sleeves anyways. However, I do wish I went back at the end of the drawing to put some wrinkles on the sleeves so that they actually looked like cloth and matched the rest of the dress. I really did not like the way that the colors were looking with these markers. They were kind of just, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm just gonna say I didn't like it. Especially since this marker was supposed to be red, but everyone I showed this drawing to said that the dress looked orange, and I don't understand. I don't really see it. However, despite the looks, I can't deny that it was quite fun to color something in with markers. It was a lot different from what I'm used to, and the feeling was pretty nice. I like how the ink goes on so easily, and you don't really have to press very hard, and you don't really have to layer it, but if you do layer it, you gotta be really careful. The next thing for me to color in was the hair, which I was not worried about at all. I, of course, was hoping for some variety in different shades, but there weren't that many since it was only a 24 pack and they're markers and they're all pretty dark when it comes to the color. So I kind of just stuck with a regular brown and decided that I wouldn't color in the highlights with brown, and I would just leave them white for now and figure out something else later. Which wasn't that hard. Hair is actually one of the things that I draw the best out of everything, so it was pretty easy to figure out. The next thing on the list to color in was the shadows on the dress, and I horribly messed this up. And it was such a big mistake, and I could not take it back at all because it's markers. Once you make a stroke, you can't undo it. I should definitely have done a test before I colored this in. I should have done a swatch test. I should have done a layer test, but I didn't. I only tested the 2 markers, and that was a huge mistake because I picked up this marker thinking that it was purple, and I mean, watching the video back, it's clearly blue. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe it was just the lighting in the room at the time, but I thought it was purple, and I thought it was going to be much lighter than this, but no, it was a dark blue, and once I put it on the dress, it looked almost black. It was a very deep shadow, which was bad because that's not the vibe that I was going for with this drawing, but there was no going back, so I had to figure out how to make it work and how to make it look good. On top of the color mistake, I also made mistakes by placing the shadows in the wrong spots of the clothing folds. They were supposed to go underneath them since the lighting source was coming from above them. And I failed that too, and I ended up putting the shadows on top of them. And I couldn't undo it, I couldn't fix it. And then once I started coloring the puffs and shading the puffs on the top and bottom of her dress, I put the shading on the wrong side on those two. They're supposed to be pointing away from the light, not towards it. They're not supposed to be on the same side of the light source. It makes 0 sense. And I didn't even notice that I made this mistake until after I had finished the entire drawing, so there was no going back. Due to all of the trouble I had with making these markers cooperate with me, I decided not to use any of the markers to color in her skin, and I cheated a little bit and I used a colored pencil instead. I felt like it was the safest choice considering how much these markers bleed and how dark they are. I felt like if I tried to use one of the skin tones, it would just completely ruin the whole thing. It would take away from any depth it could have had. It would just demolish it, and there would be no saving it at that point. So I went with the colored pencil, and I think that was the best decision. When I went to shade the skin, I decided on a light purple, and thankfully it was actually a light purple this time and not a dark blue, because I felt like it contrasted the best with the other cold colors, and I didn't want to use another blue color, considering that the skin is supposed to have more pigment than the clothes, at least when it comes to the warmth of the skin. So I used purple instead of blue to show that warmth. The next thing to do was actually something I decided on at the very end. I wasn't even sure if I was really going to do it, but I decided to try it out since there wasn't anything to lose. And I added a bit of highlights on the skin and on the hair. I didn't know what color to use that would actually show up very well other than just a regular yellow, but I did have this more of a highlight color yellow. It looks like a highlighter, but it shows up and it gets the idea across that the stars are shining and reflecting onto the surface of her skin and hair. So I thought it went good enough. In the end, I wouldn't say that these markers are bad or horrible or anything. I'd say that they're decent markers, just probably not meant for drawings like this specifically. I will definitely try to use them for other things in the future. But anyway, that's the finished drawing. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's.